The Zephyrian Council had seen many species crumble under the weight of their trials. The hulking Gorthax with their titanium hides had lasted 3 cycles before begging for mercy. The telepathic Mindari, despite their collective consciousness, had shattered after witnessing the psychological horrors of the 4th chamber. Even the warlike Kreks, bred for millennia in the crucible of perpetual conflict, had broken when faced with the 5th trial's impossible choices. But this human, this thing calling itself Marcus Chen, had been smiling for 7 cycles straight. Hi. Arbiter Zexhai clicked his mandibles nervously as he observed the monitoring displays. The human sat in the center of the chaos chamber, surrounded by a maelstrom of gravitational anomalies, temporal distortions, and reality-warping phenomena that had driven lesser beings to madness within minutes. Marcus was calmly solving a Rubik's Cube. "Status report?" Zexhai demanded, his 4 eyes never leaving the screens. Technician Vrilmoth's tentacles trembled as she consulted her instruments. "Hi, Arbiter. The human stress indicators remain normal. Brain activity suggests he's actually enjoying this." Impossible. Zexhai's chitin plates rattled with agitation. "Deploy the memory fragmenter. Show him his worst fears made manifest." The chamber filled with shifting phantoms. Marcus's childhood home burning, his family screaming, his failures and regrets given physical form. The holographic nightmares reached for him with grasping claws and accusatory voices. Marcus paused, his cube solving to glance around. "Oh, neat! You guys watched Inception, didn't you?" He resumed his puzzle. "Pro tip. My therapist charged way less for this kind of thing." Zexhai's auxiliary arms began twitching uncontrollably. In 3,000 years of administering the trials, no species had ever joked during the fear sequence. "Perhaps," offered Sub-Arbiter Cathena, "we should inquire about his species' background?" "Deploy the isolation protocol," Zexhai snarled. "Instead, sever all sensory input. Complete sensory deprivation drives all beings to psychosis within 1 standard cycle." The chamber plunged into absolute darkness and silence. Temperature dropped to near absolute 0. Gravity vanished. For most beings, this represented the ultimate horror, being alone with nothing but their thoughts in an endless void. Marcus finished his cube in the dark. 3 cycles later, when they restored his senses, they found him doing push-ups and humming what appeared to be a song called "Don't Stop Me Now." "This is unprecedented," Vrilmoth whispered. "His neural patterns suggest he's been meditating." "I used to live in New York," Marcus called out cheerfully, apparently having overheard. "You want isolation? Try being single in Manhattan during a pandemic lockdown. This is basically a spa day." Zexhai felt something he hadn't experienced in millennia: genuine fear. The trials weren't just tests. They were a sacred ritual, a rite of cosmic judgment that determined which species deserved to join the Galactic Confederation. Every civilization that passed became stronger, more unified. Those that failed were deemed unworthy of the stars. But this human wasn't failing. He wasn't even trying. "Deploy the ethical maze," Zexhai commanded desperately. "Force him to make impossible choices. Every path leads to suffering." The chamber transformed into a sprawling scenario where Marcus had to choose between saving a busload of children or his own mother, while simultaneously deciding whether to sacrifice 1 innocent to save thousands, all while a timer counted, down to universal annihilation. Marcus studied the scenario for exactly 37 seconds. Then he found a fourth option they hadn't considered, saved everyone, and somehow managed to befriend the holographic villain in the process. "What kind of monster are you?" Zex-Hi finally screamed, abandoning all pretense of dignity. Marcus looked up at the observation deck and shrugged. "I'm a high school teacher from Detroit. I spent 15 years dealing with underfunded schools, helicopter parents, and teenagers who think they're immortal. Before that, I was a social worker in Baltimore." He gestured around the chamber. "You guys throw some pretty impressive special effects, but honestly, not even close to my daily reality. But the chaos, the impossible circumstances, the psychological pressure. Yeah, about that." Marcus stood and brushed off his jeans. "You keep trying to break us down with chaos and fear and impossible choices. But here's the thing about humans. We don't just survive chaos. We're made of it." He began counting on his fingers. "Our planet's been trying to kill us since day one. Ice ages, volcanoes, meteor impacts, pandemics, wars, natural disasters. Pick your poison. We've been dealing with impossible choices since we figured out how to make fire. You want to know what's really scary?" Marcus smiled, and for the first time, Zex-Hi understood why predator species showed their teeth. Humans don't break under pressure. We get creative. We improvise. We turn disasters into opportunities and enemies into friends. You thought chaos was your weapon? He laughed, and the sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Chaos is just Tuesday for us. The monitoring equipment began sparking as something unprecedented happened. The trials themselves started glitching, unable to process a participant who treated cosmic horror as a minor inconvenience. "So," Marcus continued, "are we done here? Because I've got papers to grade, and my students are expecting their test results tomorrow. They get cranky when I'm late, and trust me, you really don't want to see what chaos looks like when a human stops being nice and starts being creative." High Arbiter Zex-Hi realized with dawning horror that they had made a terrible mistake. They hadn't been testing humanity. Humanity had been studying them, and now they knew exactly how the galaxy's greatest civilizations could be broken.